Out for a bit of the old ultra-violence.
I've taught you much, my little droogies.
Hello friends and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily Reddit content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies, it's just a fact and it's totally science. Go ahead and look it up, please. I don't want to come out of the gate too strong because I'm sure today is going to be a particularly powerful episode. We are jumping into r/LetsNotMeet, which is breaking new ground for me. I wasn't sure where to start, but there was a story posted on my personal subreddit r/ReddX reads asking me to read their posts, so I figured I might as well oblige and see just what we got here, how it performs, particularly since the To Catch a Predator episode that I'm working on is still in a battle with the copyright bot, but I suspect within the next couple of days that'll come out. Until then, well, we'll do a little bit of experimenting. These are a couple of German-related Let's Not Meet stories, which seems like a weird theme, but we're gonna roll with it. That's fine. So let's get some plugs and disclaimers out of the way, and then we will jump into some spoopy Let's Not Meet. Someone pretended to be my father and tried to break into our house. Hello, Reddit. Not sure if this is the right subreddit, but I really didn't want to meet that person, so here we go. A little context. My dad and I live together in our own multi-family home in Germany. My dad has a serious lung condition. His lungs produce and trap an excessive amount of mucus. The trapped amount is huge, and it keeps his lungs from working properly. It's pretty normal that he has to be picked up by an ambulance every 2 to 3 weeks because he just can't breathe anymore. God bless socialized medicine, man. If this is America, it's over. Last week, it was that time of the month. He couldn't breathe. I called an ambulance and he was brought to the closest hospital. Pretty normal for me because this happened at least 10 times in the last 6 months. So I went to bed after he got picked up on Tuesday. I went to work the next morning and got a text from him saying that he has to stay for at least 2 more days. He'd be home approximately Friday. Well, Wednesday evening I got home from work and played a match of Rogue Company when someone suddenly rang the doorbell. That's unusual because we never have unannounced visitors. I walked to the door and I was about to press the door buzzer to open the main door when I heard, at least I think I heard, more than one voice directly in front of my door. So that someone just got past the main door. Weird. I asked in German, "Hello? Who is it?" Silence for 3 seconds. Then a person who sounds like my father, but at the same time doesn't sound like my father, answers,
"Misha, it's me. I forgot my keys. Open the door."
I thought, okay, in that case, wait a minute. My dad never calls me Misha, only Mishi. And there was that sarcastic tone in his voice. I just didn't trust the situation. I called my father on his phone. If the person in front of my door was my father, his phone should ring, right? Right. It didn't. Big whoop. My father answered, and as I suspected, he was still in the hospital. Meanwhile, the 2 people on the other side of the door heard my phone call and started kicking the door.
"Let me in, Misha. It's your daddy. Let me in."
All I can say is, thank God that the door is reinforced. After I threatened them with calling the police and wielding a big-ass knife in my hands, they left. I heard their footsteps running down the staircase. I rushed to the window facing the street to check if I could see a car or a license plate. Nothing. Just a few footsteps in the distance. They never came back. What's weird is that they knew my name and that my father wasn't home despite his car sitting in our driveway. Zit was hitting the fan when a buddy reported something similar. We called the police. Investigation in progress. Dude, that is freaking terrifying. They had some insider information. I'm pretty sure they were going to rob you at the very least and maybe do something far, far worse. I think they could have got your name off like a piece of mail or something like that, but how would they know that your father's not home? How would they know what your father sounds like? There's some hinky stuff going on here, OP, and My fingers are crossed that you're okay. This was posted 9 days ago. I hope that we'll get an update eventually about what happened, but man, this is creepy beyond creepy. Most crimes are committed by people that are close to you, basically mostly because of proximity. I do suspect these people are close to you, and I think that it's worth investing in a security camera of some sort, so you could be like, here, police, here's a picture of the faces that were harassing me in my own home. You'll never get tricked again. You can just sit there and play more Rogue Company, check who's at the front door on the app. You're like, I don't know them. I'm just gonna sit here quietly. Man, that gives me the heebie-jeebies, but I guess that's the sort of thing that we should expect on our /LetsNotMeet. So, without any further ado, we're gonna be brave and we're gonna jump into the next story. Butterfly effect. How German engineering saved me from being murdered. This is going to take a while to explain everything, so stay with me. It all comes around eventually. My first car was a dark green 2000 Volkswagen Jetta. It was the most basic of basics when it came to cars. No options whatsoever except an automatic transmission. It was $300. Slow, dumpy, no right headlight. Drove straight with the steering wheel practically sideways. Let out a cloud of white smoke when it started. Every stereotype of a poor high schooler's car that you can think of. My car was no exception. Despite it being a piece of German crap. I love that car. I drove it every chance I had. I don't think a day even went by that I didn't drive it. I named it Thunder Bunny. She was my baby. My beautiful, dark green baby. But Volkswagens from that generation, Jettas especially, had a pretty bad flaw in the automatic transmission. I'm not sure exactly what causes it, but essentially the transmissions gradually get worse and worse until the car simply will not shift into third gear. Yeah, that's a problem. And there's not a thing that you can do from there. So a couple of weeks after Halloween 2019, I was going about 30 miles per hour when the engine suddenly roared and the car wouldn't speed up. I feared the worst, and my fears were justified. My dad, a mechanic, didn't even have hope for my baby. She was gone already. And so, much to my dismay, we started looking for a new car. It only took us a month to find her. A dark green 1999 Volkswagen Jetta. Exactly like my old car, but absolutely everything. She was faster, had heated leather seats, automatic windows, automatic sunroof, everything. All except for an automatic transmission. I knew how to drive manual, so yeah, it was perfect. I had a new baby. From the crackhead neighbor girl to Scarlett Johansson. Bro, I thought you were invested in that old car. Don't dump on Thunder Bunny like that. She took you a long ways. But yeah, I guess upgrades is upgrades. At least in my eyes. I love that car even harder. Named it Little Boy, and I was happy. Okay, I'm about to get into the story, but I have a few more quick things to explain. You could skip this if you want. It's important, but not really vital to the story. First is for people that might not know, but when you have a manual car, you cannot leave it in gear and take your foot off the clutch. If you do, the car will stall, which is bad. So if you do leave your car in gear, you need to turn the engine off before taking your foot off the clutch. If you don't want to turn the car off or have it turn itself off, you need to pull the handbrake or it'll roll away. Guess what the only really broken thing on my car was at the point this story takes place? If you guessed the handbrake, you're right. And that was the second thing. No handbrake. That is a problem. Okay, now on to the story. I started working as a pizza delivery driver in a smaller, growing town in Michigan. It was good money, but every once in a while I delivered to an incredibly sketchy place and have had a few shotguns pulled on me. One night, about 2 months ago, I was doing delivery on a Friday. Usually Fridays are very busy, but this day was a little slow. So when the delivery came in at 8:30, about half an hour before we closed, I jumped on it. I realized that it was 7.1 miles away, so all of the closing jobs would be done by the time I got back, and I would be able to leave immediately. It was way out of town, in a wood-surrounded neighborhood, but again, no work when I get back to the store, seemed like a good deal to me, and I'm all about these sorts of deals. So I climbed into my car and went to drive 7.1 miles away. As I pulled up to the house, I began to get a bad feeling. The house was in a small trailer park type neighborhood next to a lake, the kind of neighborhood where the houses are all a good distance apart with a very likely drug problem. It was completely dark. No lights inside, no lights outside. There was a single car in the driveway and an open window on the side of the house. I pulled in behind the car in the driveway and sat there for a moment. Something was off. By the house being completely dark, I mean there wasn't so much as a nightlight that I could see. Usually when I deliver to a dark house, there's at least a light on upstairs or something that would signal someone being awake, waiting for their pizza, but the house seemed dead. Nevertheless, I put the car in gear, turned off the engine, grabbed the small, cheapest pizza we had, and got out. Without my headlights on, there was nothing. I could barely see the house. The only light was the dim moon. I walked onto the porch and past the big open window to the front door. As I reached the front door, I saw it. The door was slightly cracked open, just enough for me to see into the void of the house. Thinking of every single horror movie I've ever seen, I said out loud, "Fuck that," and hurried back to my car. I'm a tall, well-built looking guy, but despite my wide shoulders and baggy hoodie, I'm a frail thing, and really I can hardly fight off a small dog. I got into my car and turned on the engine. My headlights illuminated the house, and almost simultaneously, the living room light behind the big open window lit up, and a single guy looked out and walked to the front door. I cussed to myself and weighed my options. If I went up to the door, I could die. If I noped out of there, I would 110% be fired. That meant no new car parts, no gas money, no cute dates with my girl, just sitting at home doing virtual schoolwork. It was a stupid choice, I know, but I grabbed the pizza and opened my door. "Bro, you can get another job! Run!" Making a choice that I'm damn glad that I made, I took the car out of gear and climbed out, mostly so my engine would be running, so that if I needed it, I could run back and immediately take off. I walked to the door, where the man had opened it the rest of the way. As I got closer, I got a good look at him. Now, I'm not one to judge a person based on their physical appearance, but this guy's head was cleanly shaven, and he was covered in tattoos. He was wearing a pair of gray jeans and a white tank top, and he had a scowl on his face and was staring me dead in the eyes. I looked past him for a moment into the house, which was completely empty. As I got close enough that I started opening the pizza bag, he started to reach around his waist. I stopped. He was staring at me with the most evil grin I've ever seen, and I knew in that moment that I was about to die. I'd always heard that your life seems to flash before your eyes. I thought about my girl, that she wouldn't even know what happened. My work would stop delivering upon my disappearance, assuming that my body wasn't ever found. My dad would regret telling me that he was happy for me landing this job. God save thee. That's when I heard it. That distinct sound of gravel under tires. My only pathetically small chance of escape was rolling away. I didn't even look back to the car to know that. I just stared at the man and was about to say, "Fuck you." When he looked back to my car, I heard the sound of the car rolling. It was getting closer. The guy's eyes went from the driveway to directly behind me. I finally looked over my shoulders. My car had rolled backwards and had come to a smooth stop near the mailbox of the house. I looked back at the guy, who had a nervous look. He looked back at me and scowled again and took his hand from around his waist. He reached into his front pocket and took out $12 and handed it to me. I gave him the pizza and watched him slam the door shut. I ran back to my car and practically tore the door off trying to get in. I looked back at the house, and the man was again standing in front of the window, staring out at me. You better believe I nearly spun the tires on my way out of there. I kept glancing at my mirrors until I started driving under streetlights again. It was easily the scariest moment I have ever had. As soon as I got back to the store, I told my boss about it, and she called the police. We never heard anything about it. I assume they went to the house, and only found a small cheese pizza. I started carrying a knife with me at all times, and my boss is considering getting trackers for our pizza bags. Considering. What a boss. Only recently I realized that this is sort of a butterfly effect. I thought that it was the worst thing ever that my transmission went out, and I cursed Volkswagen for designing such a terrible automatic transmission. But if that transmission was still working, then I would have still had that car when this happened. I would have put the car in park, and I would have sat there while whatever would have happened to me happened. I have zero doubts in my mind that that man was planning on murdering me. So, shitty German engineering saved me from getting murdered. Edit. I'm assuming that when my car began to roll, the guy assumed that there was somebody else inside, like backing up to pick me up. The engine wasn't revving, but if you're about to murder a person, you probably don't focus on those details. Sorry for any confusion. Well, this is kind of crossover r/Tales from the Pizza Guy, isn't it? I think I tried that on the old channel, and it didn't perform well, but maybe we should get back to it at some point. This is definitely one of the scarier stories that I've heard from that subreddit, at the very least. I do think that the car rolling backwards might have saved you. You know, he thought there was somebody else in there or something like that. But I also won't discount the fact that you at least staved him off long enough with your death glare for the car to start rolling backwards. So most people are looking for the easiest possible target. And if you're not making yourself look like an easy target, you know, OP's a well-built guy, he's staring this guy right in the face like, do something. Then that probably bought OP enough time for the car to start rolling backwards. Then the guy maybe thought he was outnumbered and decided to change his mind. But luckily he did have the $12 instead of pulling out like a gun or a knife and be like, give me the pizza and get out of here. The alternative is like maybe he was the nicest guy in the world and was only reaching to his back pocket because that's where he usually puts his wallet. But then he realized that he had some change in his front pocket. And he's like, oh, here you go, bro. Sorry for the confusion. But honestly, I do think that this guy had bad intentions. Like, having all the lights off in the house, that is enough for me to be like, nope. Big nope, I gotta go. It ain't gonna happen today. Video's still a little short. Maybe we slap one more in here. Just for good measure. 3's a nice number. The power of 3. So, let's get into one more. And then I'm gonna get out of here for the day. I thought it was the Uber Eats delivery guy. See, it's related. It's food delivery. I don't think it's German food, unfortunately. I'm a school teacher, and at the time this happened, I was single, meaning I was living alone. It was a Saturday, and I know this might sound a little sad, but I have this habit where every Saturday, I order pizza and ice cream from my favorite pizza place in town on Uber Eats, and get cozy on the couch in my basement to watch a movie. That does not sound sad at all. That sounds like the ideal Saturday. Super killer. So, since it was Saturday, I placed the order for my usual pepperoni pie and Ben & Jerry's brownie fudge ice cream and got comfy on the couch in my basement as I looked for a good movie. Halfway through searching for a movie, I got a notification on my phone that my order had arrived. So I went upstairs, and this is where things started getting a little strange. When I opened the door, I was shocked to see that firstly, I didn't see any ice cream, and secondly, the pizza was completely outside of its box and flipped upside down. I didn't understand how this was even possible, even accidentally. How could someone have dropped the pizza in a way so that the box had opened and the pizza landed face down right on my porch? Not to mention the person completely forgetting the ice cream. I called the Uber Eats driver, who said he clearly remembered placing the pizza and the ice cream right at my doorstep. I asked for a refund, but I didn't get one. I cleaned up the pizza in a state of confusion, leading me to believe that either it was an actual accident, or someone, either the delivery guy or another person with possibly darker intentions, willingly did this. I finished cleaning up the mess and headed over to the kitchen to make myself a sandwich. I was putting the ham back in the fridge when, upon closing the fridge's door, I saw someone behind the living room window rapidly duck down. Oh God. Whether I saw someone or was just hallucinating is still something I don't know for sure. I stood there silent for a few minutes, just to maybe hear some sounds coming from outside. There was nothing, though. Or maybe being next to the fridge made it harder to hear anything in a clear way. I started getting a little paranoid, thinking that someone was maybe messing with me. I took my sandwich and went back downstairs in the basement. I picked out a movie, laid back on the couch, and started watching. About a few moments into watching, I leaned over to the side of the couch to put my plate down because I had finished eating. As I did, I noticed something on the side of my peripheral vision, as in right behind my couch. I suddenly flipped my head to look behind me, and to my horror, just a couple of inches away from my face was a person in a mask giving me a deadpan look. I jumped up so high, I shattered the plate next to me by accidentally knocking it on the floor. I ran up and out of the basement and completely out of my house. I hid behind a bush in the backyard and called the police. Luckily, I wasn't followed by anyone. They told me they'd be there within 10 minutes. I waited patiently, and that's when I faintly saw two kids run out of my house and onto the street on the opposite side of where I was. When the police came, I told them that some kids wanted to prank me and that the prank was probably over given that I had now called the cops on them. I thanked them as they left, and they told me to call them if anything else happened. Thank God nothing else happened that night. The following morning, though, I went into my office room and found some swoosh stickers drawn all over my students' assignments. This made me think that maybe I knew who did this. I thought that maybe they were these two kids in my class that hated me with all of their guts. I also thought about them because they always used to sit in the back of the class and make anti-Semitic jokes because they knew I was Jewish. Fortunately for me, I learned the following day that they both got expelled from school for other reasons, so I guess that was their way of saying goodbye. Well, certainly a couple of pranksters, didn't they? Like, first they waited for the Uber Eats guy to drop the food off, because there's like no contact these days, right? So they drop the food off and leave and say, hey, your food's at the door. And in between the couple of minutes of OP getting that text and going to the door, these kids flipped the pizza over, probably stole the ice cream because Ben & Jerry's is lit. So they ate that for themselves, but they had on their maskies and everything, out for a bit of the old ultra-violence, real horror show. Oh man, that is creepy. I'm glad these kids got expelled for reals. It's interesting to me that OP said evicted, which makes me think maybe this is all made up. Maybe she's not actually a teacher, but she ain't got that much post-history to speak of, so I can't really speak on it. Either way, it is a scary story. It definitely caused my hair to raise when she had a person with a mask, like, just lurking. Just lurking! Probably wanting to watch the movie with her. Netflix and chill, teach. No, thank you. But yeah, they could have done anything in her house, you know? Luckily, they are kids, so it might have been all in, like, good pranky fun, but I don't know, man. Some kids are pure evil. Could have, like, you know, burned OP's house down or stabbed her in the neck and sacrificed her to Slender Man or whatever the hell. God damn, that's scary stuff. I'm glad you got out of it all right, OP, and hopefully you will not meet any other such children in your class. Lordy Lord. Now, I didn't read these stories as seriously as I would read a creepypasta. It is like an interesting merging of my Neckbeard content and my creepypasta content. So I'm looking for the middle ground, but I'm sure we'll find it eventually. But I do hope that you guys enjoyed the episode. And if you did, I hope that you like, comment, and or subscribe. Maybe share it around if you'd like to give this subreddit a little boost. Then we might come back to it sooner rather than later. And on top of that, I would just plain old appreciate it. I hope you check out the links in the description. Darkly Studios on Twitter did my character animations. You can go check him out. Super cool guy with the commish. We got me and my wifey's channel, Mr. and Mrs. ReddX, my personal subreddit r/ReddX reads, the Teespring if you're trying to rock the merch, and my Amazon affiliate link, which currently goes to my microphone, but if you click on through there, buy basically anything else, I get kicked back a little percentage. So if you were going to make a purchase, do think of your old buddy Red. I've also got social medias, you know, Twitter, Discord, sometimes Facebook, I'm on there. And oh, my gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful, generous patrons. Yes, indeed, I'd like to thank them all, but especially Zero MMX, Lady Nix, Robert Waits, Pope Squid, Cider Drinker, Tato Ferret, The Last Shinobi, Mark 211, Aaron W, Mitch, John Hero, Candy Sora, Fire Drake, The Lone Wolf, Miss Monday, Silent Revolver, JM Coon, Leon Embers, TSM Kirby, Redwin, Synaptic Boomstick, Jerry, Staples, Yeet, Cake Jerry, that's a different Jerry. My boy Nat One Nick, Brilliant Tamago, that big delicious jelly donut, Livison, James Cook, Papa Jesus, and our newest friend of all, Aaron Lennox. Sometimes videos do definitely get demonetized, and I appreciate you guys pushing back on that. The past two videos that I put out, the King Neckbeard and the Legbeard story, have both been rather edgy, and YouTube has been harassing me a little bit about it, but the patrons definitely do help out when things like that happen, so I appreciate you guys. If you can help these lovely people in supporting the channel, that is absolutely massive. I thank you very, very much in advance. But if you can't right now, friends, then don't sweat it too hard. I just appreciate you coming on through, hanging out with me, and I hope that you come on back and hang out with me again tomorrow, because really, the views is how my beard stays so battered. In order to do so, you need to keep yourself safe out there, especially after Let's Not Meet. Keep yourself safe out there and wash your hands, and also take some time out and do something that you personally enjoy today. Maybe watching some more ReddX videos? Hey, that's a great idea. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, and you definitely, definitely deserve it. I will see you in the next one. And until then, bye-bye.